Ready to rock and roll. So, Angelique, how was your day so far? Your week as well. Today's Thursday.
It's a great day because I got up and I get to live the day. So whatever comes, I'm ready for it.
I know that's right. Another day, another opportunity. Can't complain. You know, it's funny. Let me tell you something. I woke up with a headache. I did. I woke up with a headache. I was just telling my team I woke up with a headache, and I have been really probably about 3 weeks now at least. I've really been meditating on the mindset of being dedicated to, gosh, actually, no, Angelique. I think it started after your event. This mindset shift, the mindset shift of being married to the process versus the outcome. I think I mentioned that when I was with you at your event. And so the reason why you have to be married to the process versus the outcome is because your outcome doesn't come every day.
Exactly.
But the process is what gives you the outcome, right? And so you have to be married to the process. You have to be more committed to the process than the outcome, because the process is where you will be every day. So this morning, that 100% kicked in for me because I had a headache. I had a serious headache, and I was like, oh man, I have a headache. But I said, you know what? It's process. It's process. We got to be committed to the process. And as long as your process is refined enough and you know that your process is going to get you to a particular outcome, you should be good. So here we are. All right, well, it's 12:01. Let's get started. We see folks are still coming in, but we start on time because we are, a professional. Today's conversation, I was thinking today as well. I said, you know what, this entire month has been, I know it's been a stretch for some, because the idea of hiring in general and bringing on a person outside of yourself is a stretch for a lot of people, regardless of your profession. Regardless of your profession, do you know that most small businesses have like 1 to 2 employees max?
Yeah.
And they are really, as we talked about at the beginning of the month, they are self-employed. You have just bought yourself a job. You're really not yet operating a business because it can't operate without you. When you get to a space where your service offering, your business can run and it can deliver an item, a product, or service without you, now you're getting into the business realm. If everything must flow through you, you are self-employed. And so this is a structure that is very much prevalent in our real estate space. But I just want to be sure to say that it's not just in real estate. Literally, there are many, many, many small businesses. Many, the majority have, 1, maybe 2 employees. But outside of that, if they don't get up, it's not going to happen. But with that being said, we want to crush that burden for real estate professionals specifically. And that this month we're talking about hiring virtual assistants bringing in leverage. Leverage is process plus people equals profit. That's what a business is. So you have this process of delivering a service or a product. You document it, you bring in people, that creates leverage. And now this thing is making money for you while you sleep, right? Or while you're vacationing, or while you're doing so many other things. So that's our discussion for this month. And so today, hiring a virtual assistant is our topic: how to hire, manage, and get more done with virtual assistants. Before we get into the discussion, really quickly, just want to acknowledge our sponsor, Title Xperts. Quick commercial break for Title Xperts. They give me the opportunity to come here each week and have this discussion with our real estate professionals. For those who have not had an opportunity to work with Title Experts before, we welcome you to a Title Experts closing experience. We are an attorney managed firm. We provide a dedicated closing team, regular status updates, helpful closing guides, and trainings as the one you're attending now, as well as rush processing is available. For those who I have not had an opportunity to meet before, welcome to our space. Welcome to this conversation that we curate and have every Thursday. This topic is specifically regarding business development, and we also have discussions on substantive title and closing topics, but on this day, we come together and we talk about business, right? Process, mindset, tools to grow our business. My name is Racole Jackson. I am the founder of Title Experts. As a little intro to my background, education-wise, I did attend the University of Florida, go Gators. Santa Clara University School of Law for law school, came back home to Miami, got my LLM in real property development, and I am a licensed realtor. I have with me, I just pulled her in. You guys probably saw Angelique last month. We were talking about the buyer's presence. Was it just last month or month before? We've been doing so much. You're on mute, Angelique. Oh, there you go.
It was just before my workshop, which was April 23rd, which was that Saturday. So I think it was April 20th or 22nd, 21st. April 21st was the and the week before that. So yes.
So it's been a while. So Angelique, for those who haven't had a chance to meet you before, go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I'm Angelique Hibbert. I'm a real estate professional, as I like to use the word professional. I know Gigi's on here. Professionalism is my thing. I have been a licensed realtor in the state of Florida for going on almost 14 years now. Prior to that, I was actually doing a lot of investments, owned over 20-something properties in the state of Georgia. Went through the housing crash in 2008, got out very lucky in that midst, and moved on as a licensed realtor. And I was previously with the Kai's company for about 13 years, currently with eXp Realty now. And my mission and goal is to assist people who want to be a real estate professional get to where they want to be, as that is just a drive that has come out of me. By being on panels such as this one today. So thank you so much for having this every Thursday. I look forward to it.
No, of course, of course. So for you guys, I met Angelique. We're related in other ways. Related. Angelique's sister was my roommate in college, but we know each other even from prior to college, just from neighborhood community friends, cousins. Claudienne Hibbert is Angelique's sister, and Claudienne is along with my older cousins, not significantly older, but my older cousins in high school, in college. Hey, everybody coming in. Hey, we so happy to see everybody coming in. So listen, let's get into this discussion. So I snatched Angelique back into this conversation. She texted me while I was getting ready to quiet everybody, quiet on the set. And she said, are we ready? And I said, hey, are you in front of camera? Can you come on? Because, and I'm going to tell you, Angelique, the reason why I specifically thought that it would be great to bring you into this conversation, going back to your event and how you had to quickly deploy what? A virtual assistant and start using a virtual in her face.
No, and not that I didn't have one. I had one, but it wasn't my very own.
Exactly.
And so that was the difference. And
you were using your virtual assistant more for transaction coordination matters as well, right? Or just this one you brought on is more specific to your marketing, building your business, and now you're able to add other tasks to your virtual assistant. And so I thought when Angelique texted me, because I can tell you how I use my virtual assistant. You guys know I've had one of my virtual assistants. We have a number of them, but one of them I've had since 2014. She's been with me for a very long time. Never met her face to face. She's out of the Philippines, but she's been with me since 2014. And she started on our team dialing, right? She started cold calling for us, for our real estate team. And since then, she has transitioned and worked with me in so many different facets. And so I was very happy to see and hear from Angelique how excited she was about, oh my God, you know, the lift that she got, exactly, the lift that she got, exactly, Gigi, the lift that she got when she brought a virtual assistant on to help her with marketing the course that she offered, as well as then started implementing and inserting that virtual assistant specifically into other areas of her business. So our conversation today is specific to the virtual assistant, how to hire, manage, get more done, right? Angelique, you got more done at that time with your virtual assistant than you could have gotten done by yourself. So I don't want to be presumptuous and assume that everyone knows what a VA is, right? You probably heard the term VA, and it's not Veterans Administration, because I heard that before. It's a virtual assistant. And I want to say that, you know, your virtual assistants, that's just someone that is not in person. Most virtual assistants are offshore. They are, and most of them are out of the Philippines. But your virtual assistant can be nearshore. They can be here in the US, or they can be in Jamaica, or they can be Costa Rica, I think, are starting to be a big hub for virtual assistants in some of the Latin countries. But the Philippines is a huge market for virtual assistants. Now, last week we talked about transaction coordinators. And I want to highlight that there is a virtual assistant can also be your transaction coordinator. They can be trained to be a transaction coordinator, because the virtual assistant is just a type of person, like they're not in person. But most times the virtual assistant is not used. They're used for other tasks and responsibilities, right? So the transaction coordinator, when we talked about last week, we talked about using a transaction coordinator specifically for contract to closing, right? Specifically, even listing to contract, getting the property on the market. Today, we want to talk about some ways to use virtual assistants, right? Let's see. So I just want to bring this up again. We've been using this graphic for a couple weeks now, and I think it's so, it gives a great explanation, a great visual of how your business is operating and your capacity, and how you should look at, you know, your responsibility as a team CEO or team leader in your organization. So Angelique, I circled some of the ways that I know for sure that virtual assistants can be used, and they are being used even in some of our businesses. How are you using your virtual assistant right now?
Actually, I have decided, you know, as my virtual assistant actually can do my transactions, I've decided to do it separately. Have that person only focus on promoting, advertising, social media, MailChimp, LinkedIn, YouTube, inspirational Mondays, whatever on Tuesdays, Thursdays. And so I thought about it, and I said, and to be honest with you guys, after last week, I called Racole and I said, should I be using my VA? And I thought about it, and she had given us some referrals. And believe it or not, I took action. There's one thing to have the information, but I took action. I called one of the referrals, got the information, filling out the paperwork. So I'll have a TC and a VA completely separate, building my team. So to really complete answering your question, my virtual assistant literally does my social media, any type of marketing, contacts with my customers, period. We now have created what you call a system of things that just simply will automatically happen. What happens on Tuesdays, what happens on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and so forth. So I'm really enjoying it. And believe it or not, I know it's a cost, but it is so worth it. If you have to cut back on something, cut back on something, because the difference of what I'm getting, I've decided, I've always mostly been on the listing side, but I've decided now that's all I want to do. If it's not a listing, I'm not going to do it. This is what I want to do. So that's my drive. So having this VA helping me create and push has literally, since last week till now, helped me get 4 leads on listings, and one of them is $1 million. All of them are in a high number. And that's only because I kept my focus there, and I have that person doing that one job. And I see the benefits out of it. I was thinking, what if that person had to do the transaction? Would they have enough time to get out what we needed to do for advertising? So it's working. So thank you so much.
Let me tell you guys why I told Angelique not to do that. Number one, experience. Number two, experience. Number three, experience allowed me to give her a very short answer. Number one, the virtual assistant would have to be, regardless of whether, and I'm going to say this, the virtual, whether it's a virtual assistant or a person in office, they would have had to be trained up on how to provide transaction coordination services. Let's just talk about that across the board. And so one thing I want to be fully transparent is everyone always run and say, oh, I'm going to go get a VA. The VA will still have to be trained. That's what people miss. And that's why people fall out when they hire a VA and they don't get an automatic lift in their business. They have to be trained most times in whatever you're hiring them to do, unless they are just a superstar VA and they, you know, you can't find some that have some experience, but they will still have to be trained in your process. So my response to Angelique was, no, let the transaction coordinator do the transaction coordination. That is going to take too much time for you to train the VA on how to do transaction coordination when there's already that service in place. And that service is in place, like we talked about last week, for no upfront cost to you.
Right.
So this is how we think. This is how we think as CEOs, right? We're like, which is best? This service is already in place. They already know what they're doing. It's not going to cost me anything upfront to engage them versus the virtual assistant. It's going to cost me time and money to train them up in this particular space. So that's how we got to that point. That's how I do it. My virtual assistant does not provide transaction coordination services at all right now. It's not what she does. Can she do it? 100%. But that's not even her highest and best use. So remember, we always talk about highest and best use. Yes. What is the highest and best use of that person on your team? Here's a quick secret. This is something that we're taught in enterprise. You want to push any specific task to the least paid, most competent person to complete that task. What does that mean? If you have, let's use, for example, even our graphic here, you have 5 people on your team that can perform this task. Person A is, just use $10 an hour, $20 an hour, $30 an hour, $40 an hour, $50 an hour. All of them can do it. Who should do it? $10 an hour. They're the most competent but least paid. Push this task to the most competent but least paid. You guys make more per hour than a virtual assistant. Yes, the both of you can do it. Transaction coordinator. Yes, both of you can do it, but who is the most competent, least paid?
Mm-hmm.
That's who is going to today. And we move on to the next thing, right? I want to do this really quickly. The question I get often too is how to hire a virtual assistant. You have 2 considerations. Number one, you can hire a virtual assistant directly. I have a virtual assistant, the one that's with me for 14 years. She reports directly to me. She's on my timekeeping system. I pay her through our payroll system, etc. I have other virtual assistants that are what we call outsourced, right? We went through a company who has virtual assistant candidates that they've gone out and they offer up to us to interview and decide whether or not we want to hire them as our virtual assistant. Some direct companies, it's a quasi-direct company. You guys have probably heard of onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph. That's where you can post a job and you would get applicants, and they're from the Philippines, hence the .ph, right? Versus outsourcing. There's a company, gosh, it's called Rocket something. I'm throwing off the top of my head, I lose the name. But with that company, they're going to ask you, what position are you hiring for? They're going to look into their database. It's as similar as we do here onshore, where we use hiring agencies, right? Now, I'll tell you the difference between direct versus outsourcing. When you hire directly, for example, on onlinejobs.ph, you're going to have to receive all those resumes, interview all those people. So it's going to take you a little bit more time versus when you outsource, they're going to just give the people directly to you. And then obviously you also have the decision of whether to use them full-time or part-time, right? Now, how you're going to manage them, again, it depends on whether you're hiring them directly or you're outsourcing them. Angelique, how did you find your VA?
Well, as I said before, being a part of a group, we've had a VA for quite some time. So I had that VA, but as our group started to expand, I realized something that I would send at 1 o'clock that I would normally get back by 5 minutes after 1, I wasn't getting it back until after 2. That didn't work for me. So we found our VA in the Philippines, and that was a referral. And so we had been using that, but when your team grows to another level, you know, and there's a lot of use. So what I did is I said, you know what, let me just tap back into the same system. And since that person would already know how we work, you know, from there. So that's what I did. I tapped into the same system of the VA we had before that was referred to us from another company. And that's how we found them.
Now, one thing I'll say too, and I'm trying to remember the name of another company, when you're talking about managing, how to manage, I've worked with at least 3 companies. One company, their protocol, every company is going to be different. Their protocol is not to say that the VA cannot, but it doesn't encourage the VA to be on camera. My VAs need to be on camera. You have to be on camera. It's weird for me to manage you and you're not on camera. So I did have a VA once, I will say that. They just perform a very, very, very specific task. It was a marketing task. They were never on camera. When you guys, when a VA is hired, does your VA come on camera? No.
My VA, yes, my VA can come on camera, can do Zooms, whatever you choose. It's just up to you. I have not utilized that because again,
I mean, even in your communication with them, do you require that they meet with you on camera?
I haven't required that. I haven't needed it yet, but it is definitely available for me to do.
I suggest when you hire a VA, they need to come on camera. It's just professionalism, right? Again, after almost 10 years of this, you want them on cameras as a level of professionalism. Timekeeping, there's a ton of online timekeeping systems that you can use. Some are free, some are low cost, but you definitely want to keep time. With regards to time, you guys realize that in the Philippines, they are 12 hours ahead. So my people that are working for me, when we get started at 8:30 in the morning, it is 8:30 in the evening for them. You're gonna have to decide whether or not you're okay with. I have a VA that starts she'll start at 8:30 in the morning her time, but that's because she's doing marketing tasks. But the VA that's doing production tasks, they work at 8:30 at night when we get started at 8:30 in the morning. So you guys keep that in mind as well. You have to decide whether or not you're gonna require your VA to work during regular hours. And then payroll, there's a lot of systems that you can use. We use Zoom, but it's XOOM, and that sends money to the Philippines. How did you come up with your training protocol, Angelique?
Well, I had already put the training together from before. So the initial person that was there was already trained in that particular company of how we wanted things to be done. So when I requested one from a person for myself, I said, could you please ensure that I have someone who's been trained under the person that was working for us before? So it was a very easy transition because they had a person who literally works alongside the other young lady. So the transition was very easy. My first thing was a conversation of how I work. Please check my Instagram. They had already looked at all of the things that I was doing and had sent me samples of things that they could start creating. And so that helped me understand they understood my style. So that was very important to me. They knew that I had clean lines. I don't like a lot of things, and everything needs to just be neat and clean and legible.
So that's a good point. That's a good point. So I'm going to tell you guys too, culturally, that's how, when you get into when you're interviewing and you're looking at your virtual assistant, culturally, there's a different design eye. There's a different communication style. So depending upon where you hire your virtual assistant from, you may have to address, like Angelique mentioned, her design style. You may have to potentially create templates for your VA that they're going to use going forward. I'm just telling you guys what I've had to do. You'll have to get with someone who has your design eye. Maybe they cannot be your VA. They probably cost a lot, but you'll get like a branding board, you'll get templates, you have your logo, you'll have everything that you need to have your VA simply, we talked about before, Canva, go in Canva or whatever system that they're versed in to update your marketing. Does that make sense? Again, don't beat your head against the wall trying to make a VA a 10-year professional designer. This is a hack. This is how you get around not having to hire full-time or part-time that expert designer. You have that expert designer create many, many templates for you that your VA will just change up. Take it from me. VA, go ahead.
I just wanted to say something, and I hope I say this the best way I know how. I will definitely be honest. I did interview some people here in the States. I did give someone a task to do. I even paid upfront half money to see. I'm telling you, I'm serious about it. It's almost like I put money in escrow. I want to see if you're ready. I'm ready. And it's Monday, and here it is Friday, and you're still asking me questions about a project. And so I tried someone else, and I consistently got the same sort of not quick turnaround.
Hello.
And so I then said, okay, because I thought maybe I needed someone here in the States. I said, okay, let me go back to the company and see. And as I literally requested the interview, they sent the Zoom link, they sent the documentation, they gave me a time frame to read it. Their discipline in how they handle what they do, I had to get ready. Everything was done. I did it on a Friday. The guy started on a Monday.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Huh?
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, he showed up he's supposed to start at 1. He showed up at 12:45. He already told me he reviewed my social media. He reviewed everything. He showed me my logos. Everything was, please let me know what's my first task. I couldn't give him enough work to do. And just because I don't have a full time yet, from 1 to 5 is what time the person works. It's great. It gives me enough time to have enough stuff done in the morning to ensure that he has enough stuff ahead of time. And as I was giving the information, I couldn't keep up. And somebody's asking, what has your experience been regarding the language barrier?
They speak English.
They speak English. They speak and pronounce words, I promise you, almost better than we do. So I found that the discipline and work ethic is completely different. I promise you today, and this is over what? He's gonna probably already be on here at 12:30 just to see what's next and what he's following up on, and give suggestions how to cross-reference to generate more business. I didn't even expect that.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Number one, and I don't want to forget these points. Let's talk about culturally. If you're looking at the Philippines, number one, this is a huge industry for the Philippines, similar to how we are in South Florida with tourism. And so we know how to promote and provide a good time We know what you come here for. This is such a huge industry in the Philippines. They know what you come to them for. They know that you come to them because, as Angelique mentioned, you need someone to execute, to get you organized, and to do all the things. They know this, that you don't have time to do. So they're going to cause you, believe it or not, to be even more organized than you. Than you normally would be. They are going to be ready for you to give them a lot of tasks. So I would suggest that you start part-time, not full-time. There is no language barrier. They speak English. They may have, some have more of a heavier accent than others. That's just what it is. And so with that being said, if you think that you're going to put your virtual assistant on the phone, make sure that that's part of your hiring requirements when you interview them. I suggest, depending upon how you're going to use them, if you know you're using them exclusively for like online marketing, just for your social media, to create documents, presentations, etc., then the language barrier, the accent is less of an issue. But if you know you have someone, and I brought back up the team display, if you know you have someone that they're going to have to get on the phone, then that accent has to be right. Don't overlook it, because it's just not, they're not going to overcome it. And we've had that. I have some virtual assistants, their accent is a little bit more heavier. And so I knew for sure that they probably were not going to be on the phone, but they speak perfect English.
Yes.
They speak perfect English.
I do want to notate one more thing as well. And it's funny because someone says I didn't even think of doing that. The gentleman who owns the company, I just sat and had a full conversation with him and wanted to know, why did he start this company and how he started this company. You're in the Philippines. How did you even reach out to the US? And the long and short of it, he had two friends here who repetitively needed help and reached out to him for help. And he was just helping them on the side, and then he realized that this could really be a business.
100%.
And he created a business from that. So I think it's also important too, to understand why people have got into the business that they're in, because everybody has some form of goal and that sort of thing as well. So he was able to share that with me and let me know that his wife's name was Angelique as well. And I'm like, is she from the Philippines? And he goes, yes, she's from the Philippines and her name is Angelique. So now we have forged a relationship, which was very, very good.
Awesome. So as we're wrapping up, I want to just point out some ways to utilize the VA based on these different roles on the team. So as an executive assistant, I would think it's self-explanatory. They can clear out your emails. If you train them, they can have access to your emails. If someone is requesting a particular, especially if you're a busy CEO that gets emails about a ton of different things that you really should not address, that executive assistant can filter those emails, send them to who they need to be sent to. They can also reach out. Angelique just mentioned when we first started that this, in the, I guess it'll be 4 weeks that you've had your virtual assistant, they've created 4 leads already. So all those different things that you say, I wish if I just had, someone to do this thing, they can do it. As a transaction coordinator, we talked about that. Can your VA be a transaction coordinator? Yes. Should you use them for transaction coordination initially if they are not experienced in it? No, you should not. Use a transaction coordinator because, again, they're already trained and there's no initial cost to you. Listing coordinator, our virtual assistant, that is the same thing. Once you get the listing agreement, scheduling photos, putting it in the MLS, all the things that go along with coordinating a listing, they can do that. Remember, you guys are doing the same things over and over again. And let's talk about it. I just thought about this. These virtual assistants, guys, they are highly educated. They're highly educated. They have college degrees. So they're not even, it's not like, they don't have, they're not educated. They are educated. They're very educated. They have high technical skills, and that's why they're very strategic. Inside sales associate, that means you can use them for dialing. You say, how would I use them for dialing, Racole? You can subscribe to a dialer, or you can have them dial out directly themselves. You can subscribe to Ring Central. That's a website. That's a soft phone, as they call it. Dial Pad is another one. That's so that they have the online phone service. Mojo, M-O-J-O, is a system that allows the multiple dialer. That's what we use for dialers, as well as Mojo can give leads for your virtual assistant to dial on, your inside sales associate virtual assistant to dial on. You can also get phone numbers from the MLS when a listing expires. They can do a reverse lookup, grab those phone numbers and reach out. These are ways that we've used virtual assistants. And of course, marketing is so easy. Online marketing, your social media posts, your reels, they can do reels for you, all those. And I'm going to zoom forward. Guys, I bumped this up to $6 per hour. You can literally get them for less, but I'm going to tell you, you get what you pay for. So that's why I bumped it to $6 an hour. You're going to get what you pay for. So don't try and, you'll find someone, especially on onlinejobs.ph, where they're willing to work for $4 an hour. Guys, do you realize how much of a cost savings that is for you? If you were to hire someone as an employee, just even the employment taxes, just think of all the costs. They're going to come with their own equipment. You don't have to buy computers. You don't have to house someone in an office. All these different costs that are cut off of you because of using a virtual assistant, right? Again, one of the biggest things we want to realize is that in order to grow your business and get you to a point where you are running your business and your business isn't running you, our entire discussion this month has been, what is my highest and best use? And again, I realize that it's a stretch because we're not taught to think this way when we get our real estate license. Nobody has said this to us. They just tell you, oh, go get the list. They tell you all these they tell you all the ways to provide the service, but they don't tell you how to grow your business. And so again, this is not a phenomenon that's exclusive to realtors. It is in the industry as a wide. So the challenge this month is, what's my highest and best use? We talked about the transaction coordinators. We've talked about virtual assistants. Next week, we're going to talk about tech tools. Dr. Carlisa has in the chat, who would you personally recommend for the VA? I can drop into the chat. Let's drop into the chat the names of some companies. I'll drop into the chat the names of some companies just shortly that you can consider to reach out to. And you guys can pull that from the chat. All right.
I'm putting one in there right now.
Perfect. And so we'll drop those in the chat. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. Again, we hope that you feel inspired, you feel encouraged, like, oh, I never knew that someone else can do this for me. And the last thing I'll say is, guys, you will not believe how many teams are operating off of virtual assistants and transaction coordinators. There are some huge teams that are, A1, I've used them. How do you deal with payroll as it relates to business expense and IRS? It's a business expense. It is a business. It's essentially like you're hiring a company. A1 Virtual Business is a company. And so our CPA even does a 1099. I'll just let you know. It sends out at the end of the year for anyone that we pay for any services, they all get 1099s. So that's a good question, Archie. Say to her. Elsie, for sure.
I will tell you, it has changed my life in the last 30 days. I've had a VA for a long time, but to have my very own by myself since April 20th or April, right in there, April 19th or something, it has been incredible what it has done in that little bit of time. And I also want to definitely say thank you so much for the referrals last week, because it feels refreshing to have a transaction coordinator who knows what your company does, and to have a VA understanding your style in what you're trying to accomplish. So I can sit here and just throw on my pearls today and just jump on because I have what I call a team.
I'm
So
so excited. I am so excited. I'm glad that you messaged me, because this is what it's all about, guys. This is what it's all about. Sometimes, sometimes people may think like, oh, well, I'm not there yet. Yes, you are. You are there. You are there where you can utilize a virtual assistant. You can utilize a transaction coordinator. And again, like the testimony that Angelique just gave, she said, I can just jump on and do the Zoom, where I can do all these other things because I have a team in place. I have a team in place. So I'm excited. I look forward. I hope you guys found value in this discussion today.